Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us. Today, we're honored to have an exceptional leader with us, Arif, formerly Chief Information Officer at Spartan Ash and at SC Johnson, two organizations that are really thriving in the future of operations and technology at scale. So, we're here to explore a topic that is transforming every industry at unprecedented speed. So, as artificial intelligence becomes more deeply embedded in supply chains, enterprises, systems, decision making, and customer engagement, leaders are really faced with a huge opportunity and at the same time, a critical challenge: how to implement and what risks are involved. I'm excited for a candid, forward looking discussion and would like to see what it takes to build the resilience, intelligence in the operations, and how to align technology strategy with business values. Welcome, Arif.
Thank you, Tahir, for having me. Appreciate the time.
All right, so tell me, Arif, how has the role of CIO and IT leadership in general changed in the past 5 to 10 years, especially with the cloud, SaaS, and now AI explosion?
Yeah, Tahir, I think if you want to put this in a nutshell, it's one word would describe it as complexity, not only from an IT point of view, but from a business point of view. And as complexity increases in business operations, that translates into complexity and the demands from the business from a data point of view, from decisions intelligence point of view, and from an innovations point of view. As that moves forward, the IT organization is under a lot of pressure to perform to what the requirements from the business are, as well as timeliness of those performance and those deliveries, as well as the cost pressures that come with it. So it's a triple kind of a pressure. You're more complex, required much sooner, and then obviously the cost should be much less.
Yes, absolutely.
Obviously,
And
obviously that the talent, right people in the right places obviously go with this thing.
correct. I think at the same time, the budgets are minimal and they haven't been changed. If anything, they are lower. And at the same time, the risk has to be assessed. So, totally understand that a number of factors are in the play, and it's a very, very dynamic equation that needs to be balanced. So, help me
Agreed.
understand what are the biggest operational headaches that enterprises are facing today, and what can AI do for them?
Right. So as I said, complexity then generates and translates into an IT environment. Let's say if there is a problem out there, it takes longer to get to the root cause, and then obviously it takes longer to act on those root causes because of the complex nature of the environment. We are taking more time. Doesn't matter how many people or the right people in the right places. It does simply take long. The correct action, the responsiveness and timeliness of those actions becomes that much more critical. And then obviously the IT operations are measured on KPIs, the MTTRs of the world and MTDs of the world. And that's where the impact is. That all complexity and ability to get to the right root cause and then solve it quickly is impacted because of overall complexity of the operation environment.
Sure. So I'm just going to hone in a little bit more on this response. I know you mentioned MTTR and MTTD. If you can maybe elaborate, what are these and how is AI involved in helping enterprises win with these metrics? So help me understand that how does MTTD and MTTR improve with the help of AI?
So MTD is mean time to discovery. As I said, once you have a very complex environment in place in your operational setup, ability to discover what the right action needs to be, the triage part of it. Now, if it's a very complex environment, you have multiple resolver groups involved in it. People are available, people are not available. It's midnight time of the day. A lot of cascading effects are about to happen. So the timeliness of this discovery and the timeliness of the resolution, so MTTR, mean time to resolve, the timeliness of resolution becomes that much more critical. And in today's environment, those two factors that are the single two most difficult things to manage as trying to prevent the impact on the businesses.
Right. And what about the tools that organizations are using? There are a lot of fragmentation in those tools, and data is sitting in multiple pockets. How can that data be utilized, in your opinion, to go speed things up? I understand that it's the need of the time to act fast, but at the same time, there is obviously a method to this madness, and AI is helping us move forward. But AI needs data. And data is not in one place, it's sitting in various different pockets. So, how do enterprises address this challenge today?
So Tahir, the good news is the data is available. But the bad news is that it's available in multiple places, in multiple manifestations. So it will exist in different form and shapes. And the third part of the equation is that it's in different tools. So the nomenclature being used by different tools is also going to be different. Now, our ability to be responsive hinges on how quickly are we able to aggregate the data, correlate it, and drive enough knowledge and intelligence out of it so that as and when the issues do happen, we're able to pinpoint and hone in on that issue, figure it out what the issue was, what the root cause is, and then fix it. Now, the human ability to do all of that from multiple data sources, multiple formats of the data, and multiple tools involved in this is limited. Now, that's where AI kicks in. The AI's ability to correlate the data from different sources, from different tools, and its ability to infer and extract intelligence out of it, that's what makes the difference. And then obviously the intelligence involved in the ability of the AI agent to pinpoint where the issue is and then also recommend an action that basically bypass the long time loop in addressing your MTTR, MTDD, KPIs, and metrics. Hope that answers the
So,
question.
yes, it does. And I guess that also raises another question in my mind that most companies use AI for their dashboards or they want to initially gain visibility to the data and predictions. So, why is a lot of the execution in that area manual? Why are they still relying on a lot of manual interventions by a human? AI is carrying a big promise that it can help automate. So, what is really the holdup there?
So the two or three factors impacting that or that thought process, Tahir. One is you have AI tools that are siloed in itself. So there are AI tools that specifically address only data aggregation. There are AI tools that may only provide AI agents, and so on and so forth. The execution piece within an AI environment is largely missing until today, I guess. The second part is the awareness. The companies are having to still rely on people because they're simply not aware of the art of possible, what an autonomous agent can accomplish. There are obviously other two factors that are inherent in the DNA of an organization where financial thought process kicks in. You have already invested in a lot of tools. If you bring AI, what will happen to the people and the capital invested in the tools? So you have to think through from those angles as well. So in general, there is a hesitancy, even if there's knowledge about AI tools, autonomous AI tools that are able to execute as well. The hesitancy is what do we and how do we address the people part, the organizational DNA part, and then finally the compliance part. Who's going to be responsible for the compliance and risk part of it if we hand it over to AI agents? So there's three or four factors that would prevent organizations from leveraging AI, autonomous AI, to execute as well as do the previous parts in terms of insights and innovations.
Yeah, but before we go into the execution part, I guess we need to hone in a little bit more around what is preventing organizations from actually even placing or going for the programs that are more focused on action as opposed to just insights. In majority of the organizations today, don't you think that projects normally stop at the insights level and they don't move past the insights into the execution layer. And if they don't, what is really the biggest holdup in your mind? I understand the governance is and compliance and governance is there. Besides that, are there technological limitations? What exactly would it take for organizations to make a move to the next level, which is the execution from the insights?
Yeah, I think one factor that comes to mind, Tahir, is the existing footprint or the legacy environments that are currently in place, and that itself is makes it mandatory for human touch for the last mile. And these legacy environments are largely siloed. So even if you have AI layer on top of it, you still require a human touch to take the process to the next step or to the execution part.
Got it. And in your opinion, in terms of the legacy systems that require a lot of human involvement and the last mile executions, what is going to be that transition which is going to enable organizations to take that down to the AI and letting AI make those decisions that legacy systems are having humans make at the moment? What exactly is that tipping point to have the organization feel encouraged to move forward?
I think it's the tool set or an AI tool set or AI tool for that matter that allows all of the aggregation to take place at an autonomous layer in top of their legacy environment. So when people look at it, they just see an end-to-end environment rather than the siloed environment that's in place, existing environment that's in place in their current company. So my
Yeah, and I
thought,
totally agree. I totally agree with this thought process that people want to do it and leaders are willing to take the next step. But the just sheer amount of data which is sitting in various pockets and siloed environments, it's a daunting task to bring all that data together, make sense of that data, and prepare it well for the AI to consume. We've all heard garbage in, garbage out. So I'm pretty sure if AI is not taking in quality information, there is no way that it can make quality decisions. And if those decisions lack quality, of course, that increases the risk. So I think you're spot on that it all starts with cleaning the data and preparing it well so that it can be fed into the AI engines, which can add the quality and decision making.
yeah, I mean,
So
100% agreed.
yeah. So in terms of the agentic AI, and I know a lot of people are talking about agents and agentic AI, where do you see the agentic AI transformation taking us in future, especially with respect to the IT operations? 'Cause I think in IT, a lot of the workflows are still somewhat manual, where these traditional tickets get opened and a bunch of resources at multiple tiers. As a CIO, I'm pretty sure you witnessed that there are L1 to L4, you name it. There are multitudes of um, resources involved at each tier solving the problems. There are folks working probably at a very basic level, solving very simple tickets, to very sophisticated solution architects sitting up top, resolving strategic problems. At the same time, there is a continuum of these issues which are coming through, and a lot of resources occupied in resolving those issues. So, how do you see that AI agents play a role in this domain, and do they even play a role in this domain, and can they help automate some of this area?
I think I would classify the answer in two buckets. For sure, there's a role to play, and not small one, to be honest. From the time a person picks up the phone and receives a ticket or gets an email or however the person receives a ticket, there's obviously a slew of processes that take place from that person trying to understand the issue and then forwarding to the next layer, somebody triages it, somebody looks at the root cause and problems, and so on and so forth, whatever the whole process, problem management or ticket management process is. The key here is the timeliness as well as the speed, and then obviously understanding the issue. The agents are able to reason, decide, and execute. Our ability to match that speed, people's ability to match that speed is probably not going to be there because they are able to act and reason based on a massive amount of data. You just mentioned the amount of data that goes into a decision or goes into an inference or ability to decide something based on the data. That itself is so huge because of the complexity that we talked about earlier on, that it takes a longer time. But the agents do it very quickly. So their ability to reason, decide, and execute is that much faster. But that's not all. The next bucket or the other bucket is what I would say is hindsight versus foresight. So hindsight is you have the data, you act on it, you understand where the problem was, and then you make sure you have things in place that will somehow prevent the issue from happening. Foresight is the agents are able to, based on the historicals and based on the intelligence that's out there, they're able to predict and they are able to infer. And then not only that, they are able to decide where the problem will happen and how will it manifest itself. And then what do we need to do, the agents need to do to fix it. So that's a predictive nature of understanding where and when the problem will happen, and the autonomous nature of executing and plugging that gap before it happens. This is unprecedented from an AI point of view, and obviously that power people and human run operations don't have. So I would think that that's the one bucket. If you want to start off with, yes, AI agents will read and decide and execute your process of managing an issue or problem through the ticket management process. But then there's a next level of AI, agentic AI, that basically predicts and resolves autonomously.
Right. So I totally get it. And I think this is pretty much becoming almost a common knowledge that AI agents can reason and they can take a decision. But I guess when somebody's job is on the line, if a wrong decision is made, now it changes perspective. So an executive that is bringing the technology in, and that technology ends up making a bunch of wrong decisions, and sometimes even a couple of wrong decisions could mean a lot. Of course, that means that the actual AI response needs to be vetted out. It needs to be governed, and there has to be a really measurable way of finding out how it's performing, developing the proper, I would say, baselines, the accuracy criterias, making sure that the data that is being fed in is of high quality, the data lineage is there. So how do you feel that this level of complexity from a mid-scale organization can be handled? Because we all agree that AI agents are out there and they can go help do provide the needed automation. But organizations are totally not ready to actually take on a big marathon where they have to go through all of the inaccuracies or scatteredness of the data silos, and then bring all of this together in a very organized way and orchestrated way to be fed into the AI so it can deliver value. And since they are not prepped up for it, everybody seems to be screaming out loud that where is the value that AI is promising to deliver? So, what are your thoughts into how can enterprises actually achieve this goal, especially in the near term, because the speed is really fast as things are changing in the market?
Right. So I think there are multiple areas that have to be tackled or addressed simultaneously. I mean, if the guy at the top says, "Hey, I want AI in the organization," and he sits back and watches the action, nothing is going to happen. You'll have rogue pockets of AI usage, AI tools pop up everywhere. Obviously, that's not what's desired. And then the impact of AI needs to be governed through an entire process, end-to-end process, for example, or in a function or in a specific problem area or use case. It can't be just somebody's pet project or somebody's hobby in an organization. It's not possible. So the thought process would be that you have to approach it in the following three or four different dimensions. One is culture and mindset, possibility in leveraging AI to its maximum. You have to start thinking through that thought process. You have to understand that commoditized processes or repeatable processes, these processes shouldn't be a human person's job. The human role should transcend into a higher level and let these robots or AI do all of that stuff. That's one. So culture and mindset. The other thing is we have to start small. Start with a use case that's impactful. It can be small, it can be really small, but it has to have an impact so that once it's delivered, people realize the value of AI that becomes visible. And that's where it starts. So the thought process in my mind, if I were there, if I were the receiving end of an AI capability and it resolves one of my pain points, I'm going to start thinking, okay, this is really good outcome. What else can it do? And so on and so forth. So that's the starting point. The culture and mindset, which we got to bring the organization along, and then start small. And the final thing is you got to get organized to deliver AI.
Can you maybe elaborate a little bit more around the compliance and the actual risks associated with the governance in the overall outcome of adopting AI? And more specifically, what is your advice for the CIOs out there to implement in terms of putting those controls in place?
Let me answer the question in two parts. One is the biggest barrier is the existing investments in tools, even AI tools, and the legacy systems. You have a massive depreciation schedule that is part of everything that you've done up till now. So all of a sudden, AI comes in and you want to do something about it, but it also means that it's displacing some of that investment. So you have to figure out a way that ROI outweighs the write-off. So that's a financial thought process, and you have to convince the CFO to be on board with it. So that's one part. The second part is the auditability. Whatever AI environment you are looking to put in, you want to make sure that the auditability function of that environment is prevalent because it is going to be required. Start with human in loop and then go complete autonomous. Do not go complete autonomous right off the get-go. The businesses that you're working in.
Right, but at the same time, what about lack of confidence that the data which is there already may or may not be accurate? And trust doesn't, if it doesn't exist right now in the current data, wouldn't that actually impact their confidence in adopting AI? Because bringing AI means that it's going to solve something, but in order for it to work, that data has to be accurate, and they don't have confidence in that data. So how do they specifically solve those kind of concerns where they're lacking trust in the AI system because they lack trust in the existing data rational?
Yeah, I think in my mind, as a CIO, one of the things I would look at is AI would have that solve the data integrity problem. I know it does. So if I were on the receiving end, I would just say, hey, give me a proof of concept and proof of value and show me how it helps not only solving the problem or the issue at hand, but also the upstream part, which is establishing data integrity, establishing correlation, cleaning it up, and then delivering the solution. So if proof of value and proof of concept is bang on target, hey, I'm a believer here.
Yeah. And I agree that if AI can help solve a lot of complex problems, let's start with the data rationalization as the number one problem. Let's get AI to actually implement a process that helps us make sense of the data first. And then in step two, take that data to train the AI to deliver the right solutions or decisions. And once those decisions are there, let's have the proper compliance and governance built into it. Thank you. I agree with the thought process there. So from your experience, where do these AI-driven operations create the fastest ROI? I know everybody's talking about AI, bringing AI in, but at the same time, they're very much concerned, where is the ROI? So from a leader's perspective, it's not about what tech is doing or, it's treating it as a shiny toy only. They want to see that how do I justify my expense and how do I claim that there is a positive NPV and there is a significant ROI in terms of implementation, especially within the hype that AI is already set in the market. Where do you see, are the biggest opportunities for driving that ROI within the CIO realm?
Yeah, I think that's a very relevant question, Tahir. The 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 way I would look at it is, and this old saying, prevention is better than the cure. So every organization has baggage in terms of where they have stumbled, and they have historical data pointing to that. The normal AI thought process would be, hey, I'll it'll give me all the insights where things went wrong, and I'll make sure that we fix it. Problem is the fixing part is also done by humans. So the value that AI brings in is twofold. One, it not only sees where the issues are, but it also prevents it from happening. So that's your predictive nature of the AI. The power of inference allows it to predict and remediate. So if you are able to eliminate a problem that has historically existed in the organization, eliminate it in a way that it prevents you from happening. It prevents it from happening by inferring it, predicting it, and solving it autonomously before it happens. That's your biggest ROI. The other areas, obviously, if the inference and predictability is not needed or required at that stage of AI implementation, just faster resolution to problems. Remember, I talked about MTDD and MTTR. So mean time to discovery and mean time to resolution is that much faster. That means the downtime is that much smaller, and so on and so forth. So that's how the timeliness of execution is what drives the ROI. Timeliness of discovery is what drives the ROI.
And I think that completely resonates. At the end of the day, where the money loss is coming from, it's because of the longer time it takes to solve the issues. And your metrics that you're defining are the key metrics to hone in on. And I think every organization can probably put a dollar figure in terms of how much dollar per minute is lost when these services are down. And then there is a very, very measurable correlation between X amount of time saved, and hence just do the math. And math should really work out. If X number of X number of hours are being saved, that directly translates into the actual dollar savings for the organization, and that helps justify the ROI. So I think that's a great call. Well, let's talk a little bit about from a finance standpoint point and from a cyber standpoint. What are some of the values that can be claimed against using AI? And I know we talked a lot about risks and governance previously. Let's hone in a little bit on what are some of the use cases in the cyberspace and finance space. Can you give me some example, especially cyber being so closely knit within the CIO domain? How does the cyber actually get impacted or benefited by the AI agents, and what kind of value can be realized there?
Yeah, there you've hit the nail on the head. My biggest issue as a CIO was having CMDB with data integrity. CMDB that's close to 100% accurate. I've not seen an environment like that anywhere. That's one part. So the second part is obviously the timeliness. So if I have a CMDB and I have streaming real-time threat intel coming in, and I'm able to combine the two, that gives me my visibility in real time of my entire threat surface. And once I have the visibility in real time of my entire threat surface, I'm able to have autonomous AI go and fix issues before they happen, plug areas of vulnerabilities when they are identified, and mitigate an attack as and when it happens because of the nature that it can respond with speed, it can respond with the pinpoint accuracy, and so on and so forth. The problem today is that the threat actors have access to AI as well. If they are leveraging AI and they are using that tool set to penetrate your environment and do damage, if you're responding with human element, human factors in place as part of your end-to-end response fabric, you're not going to make it because they would get down to their action and finish their processes and steps to do damage or cause damage before you're able to respond. So the biggest thing that you could do is have AI counter AI, and the way I described it.
Yeah, I totally agree, and I guess this is where that mean time to detect and mean time to resolve really comes in.
Yeah.
Because if AI can help us act fast, then that means faster response to the threat. So I think spot on. That makes total sense, especially when the dots are connected. That agents are well known for acting fast, and if the proper governance is there, they can do their job faster. And on the other hand, if the bad actors have the technology in their hand and they are spinning their own LLMs, to go find the clever ways of attacking? Are the organization equipped with the right self-defense using LLMs? And it would be such a shame where bad actors are able to leverage, where organizations are not leveraging the same technology to defend. So I think it totally makes sense from a rational standpoint to go implement these technologies. Let me hone in a little bit on what Finite has been doing and how Finite actually can help possibly solve some of these concerns.
That'd be great to hear.
Right. See, at the end of the day, customers want to see value and they want to see it quick. It is not about being able to just maybe draw some sort of a process and be able to have AI automate it. Of course, that matters and that's important. And there are organizations that specialize, and Finite also has tools that allow to automate these processes. But where the core value comes in is how to understand and how to actually draw that initial current
Yeah,
existing process. A lot of the leaders have no clue what is really going on deep down. So most of the leaders actually struggle to understand the current process. So one of the technologies that Finite built early on was to see how we can scan a current network, not only seamlessly plug in with the network, but actually scan it. And during that scanning process, identify what are the current performance metrics and dependencies. For example, if we're looking at MTTR or MTTD, mean time to resolve or detect, then what are some of the dependencies on it? So using AI, one of the very first things that Finite OS, which is the operating system of the AI agents that Finite implemented, was to hook up the data and understand what are those dependencies, how to rationalize the data, and then how to understand the underlying dependencies on the KPIs which are of concern. Once we understand that what those dependencies are, now we can create a process map, and that process map is then taken into Finite Studio to be automated. It then allows user to go ahead and build that. For example, we know that MTTR dependency is on not only just resolving the ticket, but very first thing is to process the incoming alerts from various systems and detecting the problem ahead of time. And as soon as those problems are detected, then identifying the anomalies, and when those anomalies are identified, taking the timely action to go resolve them. So I think that was one of the technologies that really, really helped our initial clients, serving over 12 different enterprise use cases by now. We have seen that our ability to discover the current process dependencies is crucial to success. Secondly, to rationalize the data which is coming in, cleaning it, removing noise, and then transforming it and making it ready for AI is another milestone. And this is where Finite OS kind of helps out our clients to actually consume data from gigantic data sources like CMDBs, Oracles, SAP, S4HANA, etc. Bring all of that data together, rationalize, clean it, transform it, and orchestrate it in a way that it fits very well into this pipeline that gets created to feed the AI. And once it starts to feed AI, now AI is directed to these AI agents to actually go ahead and suggest the right decision. And then not only just suggest the decision, but actually allow user a chance to actually execute on those decisions before just blindly executing. So a full transparency and visibility and auditability gets built into this tool that allows users to just go ahead and take an action and just ask it, okay, go ahead, proceed with an execution layer. And this is where the magic happens that Finite OS now executes. So a ticket and a monitoring alert comes in, say an IT services management process reported a problem with the device. It has capability of, first of all, finding out whether it's noise or it's signal. Is it worth tending to? And then it goes ahead and finds out all of the dependencies on it. What happened to this particular configuration item or a server? What changes took place? What is its current diagnostics data on it? What about all of the communication which is happening on this instance right now? What about external events which are reported by maybe cloud service providers? We recently had an outage in AWS, so the system is fully aware of all of the external events as well. And then considering all that, determine a point of action and then suggest that to the user that, okay, go ahead, take that decision if you like. And user says, okay, yep, I like it. Or they can say, I don't like it for this reason, and it learns. Otherwise, it just goes ahead and logs back into the server, takes that particular decision and remediate the problem, all within a 45-second window. This process used to take about 6 days sometimes to root cause the problem properly and fix. And in many cases, even if it took an hour or 2 hours, it's a downtime for 2 hours. So I guess this is how AI agents not only just come in and help, but we must understand the prerequisites, which are all around data cleaning, data manipulations, and providing quality inputs to the agents, and then allowing agents to not only just predict, but also act. And then this is how you're able to complete the full spectrum. And I'm glad to see that this lowers the risk for the organizations. It gives them
Yeah.
more confidence because they're injecting human in the loop, and it allows them to move in a very safe and controlled manner with the AI.
Yeah.
So yeah. So anyways, on that front, and over here, Arif, if you have any comments, I think you can chime in and maybe provide a few comments on this.
Yeah, that makes absolute sense, Tahir. And I think one of the things that I would highlight in what you just talked about is you can scale IT environments. It take times and money and effort and so on and so forth. But if you have humans in the loop and your entire end-to-end process is contingent upon humans, then it's really difficult to scale humans and IT environment at the same time to uplift the process end to end. That's where the capabilities that you've just talked about from an AI point of view kicks in. It does solve the fragmentation and the last mile. It does solve the requirement of timeliness and precision. Minor work may not be the right answer. That's where AI platforms do that natively. And obviously, Tyre, you talked about human in loop. That is a requirement as you set off in your AI journey. And it's also needed for regulated environments. So it makes absolute sense.
Yes, thank you, Arif. How should, in your opinion, IT teams prepare their workforce for an AI-driven future? Of course, AI is changing a lot of things, and that is changing expectations, not only for leaders, but also for associates. So, how do you think that the workforce should prepare for a future which is now full of AI agents, where things are much more automated?
Yeah, I think as every CIO would tell you that you got to have a strategy. You can't just go and start plugging in AI randomly across the organization. It's going to create a lot of chaos. The strategy should drive few things. Is how are you going to introduce, what's a roadmap of introducing AI and embedding AI in the organization? And that roadmap drives your timelines and your capability, your upskilling, and all of that. The roadmap. Then within that roadmap, you should also address the following two that are absolute must in my mind. One is the organizational culture. If you are thinking of having a shared services organization with hundreds of people in a large setup, that's not going to be the case going forward. So you have to start thinking through those lenses so that the organizational thought process, the DNA and the structure itself will change. So you have to, here's your roadmap in, from an AI perspective. Here's how the organizational change will happen, the change management part. I mean, for example, as you would have AI being pervasively introduced in the organization, your job roles are changing. For example, one new role would be a AI agent implementer, or what's your performance as a human in loop in an end-to-end AI run process. So those are the roles. I just gave you two examples. How you architect an organizational solution with AI embedded in it or AI running the entire process. So those jobs and respective roles have to be defined and implemented. Then the final component is the people part, the transparency and communication, the change that's going to be brought forth by AI, as well as having all of the visibility on job roles and future organizational structures have to be implemented with people in the loop. So that as you change the organization from an AI and you execute and deliver the AI roadmap, the people part, which is upskilling the job, creating the new roles and training the people to fill those new roles, and so on and so forth. all of that happens. I think this is a complex thing to do. If people are just doing AI in silos, that's going to be a really tough call, and it's bound to fail. My thoughts.
Absolutely. And I think everybody is looking for an upgrade in their job. Everybody wants to actually learn AI. There's a lot of excitement in the organizations, and having these roles created internally and encouraging the current workforce to upskill and learn AI skills is going to be amazing for the organizations to take on. So spot on there. Now, if you had one message that you wanted to share with CIOs about embracing AI for their operations today, what would it be?
I always would say that start with thinking art of possibility. A lot of people that I talk to, they don't have the maturity in thought what AI can actually achieve for the organization. This predictive and inference and autonomous nature of AI platform that you just talked about with regards to finite, people are not really thinking what is possible with this thing. And that's where most of the conversation that I've had in the past with CIOs and some of the other IT leaders and business leaders to that matter, for that matter. So start by thinking and architecting autonomous operations. Plan accordingly. That's your strategy. Ensuring that in parallel you have a governance in place so that when the operations are pervasively being implemented in the organization, it's governed. It follows a thought process. Have human in loop roles figured out and make sure that there's training and transition and change in the organization in place that allows people to seamlessly move with AI prevalence in the organization, move from the existing role to the new AI related roles. In a nutshell, the old organizational DNA has to be upskilled to deliver in an AI-run environment. That's a success thought process in my mind.
Perfect. Well, thank you, Arif, for the time today. It was
You're
great
welcome.
speaking
Thank you.
with you and very insightful.
Thank you for having me, Tahir. It's been a pleasure.